Hi, my name is Sam Solomon, and this is Signal Tower. Today I'm joined by Romain Dardour, the founder and CEO of Whole, which is an open source platform for social applications. He also co-founded Creative, which is an award-winning creative studio located in Paris, France. Welcome to the show today.
Hey.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to join me.
My pleasure.
Good.
I'm really happy to be here.
So let's get started here. Who exactly are you and what is Whole?
That's a great question. Well, I'm a guy who did a lot of things previously. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. And in the end, so that I had a big problem. As you said, I had Creative, which is a digital studio, and I had a big problem there building stuff for my customers. And I wanted to try and solve it, and I think we did with Whole. But who I am as a person, well, this is interesting. I had a long windy road to get to this. I was in medical school at first, and I started building website for people who were asking for it. And at one point, this became a passion that I wanted to make my job of. So I started a creative agency, started a pre-Facebook company. So I'm many things, you could say.
Well, so why don't you? Well, let's take a moment and talk about some of those early things after school. So, specifically, how did you become an entrepreneur, and what was that path like?
Well, it was really natural. As I told you, I was in medical school. I succeeded, honestly, like in a average level, and it was not a passion for me. But what was a passion was what was beginning to be the web at that point. So I just did it for fun, so that people were actually ready to pay for it, and were even asking me to do things for money. So I started basically doing everything: the designer, the project manager, the developer, and learning all of this on the spot. And it grew. I was successful, and it grew. I founded an agency, and we started hiring people. I started doing less and less, and at the same time more and more as a CEO. And we ended up having customers like Chanel or Dior or Universal Pictures in France. That kind of quite great names who I was really happy to do. I've always wanted to do really pushing things forward. So I guess that's the reason they came to us.
Right. And so while you were putting together websites, what was like one of your favorite projects?
I think the favorite project was actually not the one that is most well known. It was a movie advertising agency. They basically do half of the movie posters and half of the media buy that you see for movies in France. And they're called Silencio. And these guys came to me. The boss was a friend. He gave me a budget and told me, do whatever you like. And that ended up to be one of the most awarded projects we ever had, and one of the greatest, and it's still actually one of the most visited projects that we have. So that was really amazing. But
That's
on the
awesome.
other hand, we had many customers coming to us when social became something as big as it is today, coming to us and showing us applications like Instagram. And Instagram is great, but they were telling us, yeah, this is amazing. Can I have this in 3 weeks? And obviously we couldn't do this. So we had to slash functionality, but we had great ideas. And it's not to say that they just wanted Instagram. They wanted social and engaging features, but they just didn't have the time or the budget to build it.
Right.
And this was the genesis for what Whole is today. We wanted to solve this once and for all.
Right. So that's perfect time to now segue into a little bit about Whole. So you guys just recently graduated from Techstars, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I guess tell us a little bit about your experience at Techstars and how that helped shape Whole.
I can tell you that we were in France. We had the vision for the company in December, and we knew right from the start that you don't build a tech company anywhere else than in the US if you want to go and maximize your chances of success. That's not to say you cannot do it elsewhere, but here in the US is really the best place to do it. So we set out to find a place to go, and just dropping into San Francisco would have been just suicide. So we wanted to get into the best accelerators in the world. We applied to Techstars. It has been a long and windy road. We were applying to New York in December, and it segued right until Techstars in Boulder, which is for us the greatest place we could ever be. And then we entered Techstars in May, and basically it has been the most exhausting 3 months of my life. But it brought us as a company basically 10 years of contacts and the same years of experience all packed into a few months. So that's the greatest experience of my life, I can tell you that.
Right. And when I, in another interview, when I discussed with Ashwin, who's an associate there at Techstars, he said that, he thought the mentor network there was probably like one of the best things.
This is the learning I'm talking about. The mentor network has tremendous value because it's successful entrepreneurs who know things that you cannot imagine. You don't know what you don't know when you get into the startup adventure. And they know what you need to know. They don't necessarily know the answers because no one does, but they know how to make you ask the right questions. And this has been the learning experience, meeting amazing guys like David Cohen or Brad Feld. We had really profound and enlightening discussion with these guys, and I'm not even going into all the mentors who we met, who we kept as friends and keep emailing like weekly.
Right. Yeah, no, it definitely sounds like an amazing program.
It is.
And so I guess let's go into a little bit more about Whole specifically. So what you guys do are basically provide code and documentation that allows people to easily plug in, comments, other social apps, things like that. Tell us about like some of the features and things you guys are working on.
So it's interesting. Maybe I'll backtrack a little bit and take the liberty of talking about the problem we're solving. The problem we're solving is that in any kind of application that you're building as a startup or as a marketing agency, you have a small core of 10% of that is really unique to your application and that cannot be replicated. That is, you are the only one to have it. And then around this, you have all the UI and the UX, which packages and makes an experience that people love. And in the middle, you have a huge amount of fluff, which is connecting to all the services like Stripe, Twilio, SendGrid. They make things really easy, but you still have to connect all of these and connecting to Facebook. And then you have to build features like user login or activity feed that are personalized to each user, or collections of content, comments, likes, ratings, whatever. And current products like Ruby on Rails or amazing code frameworks like Ruby on Rails, Firebase, Meteor, Parse, all these guys help a lot to make things faster. So they allow you to build the things faster, but you still have to build them. And when Facebook changes an API, you have to go back and maintain this. And if you scale up to a level that's not solved by the gems or code bits that you have to change all of this. And in the end, that's where you really spend 70% of your time. And the real solution that we're building is that we basically remove all of this from your application. Your application will only be the core and the UI, and you can just outsource all these features to Whole. So it started as social, but the way we've built the social features that we allow you to basically build your applications without any backend code makes it so that you don't even have to think about these features. You just pick them and put them in your application on the client side.
So you just if I want to drop a comment system in and I've got the whole JavaScript all I have to do is basically copy and paste a line of HTML in, and all of a sudden I've got comments?
Exactly. But as a developer, you keep the full control to adapt it and customize it however you see fit. There is no limits. All the client-side code is open source. You can do whatever you want with it.
That's awesome. And earlier we were talking about pricing and how you guys are planning to grow. Let's talk a little bit about how you guys are planning to grow. Earlier you were talking about maybe using hackathons as a way to find customers. Like what other thoughts do you guys have on that?
Well, it's simple. We're all developers in the company. So when we built Hull, we wanted to build something that we as developer would love to use to build stuff, because developers like to build stuff.
Right.
So we tried to come up with a model that, as a developer, does not limit you in any way. So we have a free plan that has every single feature of Hull. And the way we start charging is when you actually get traffic and success. Because there is we start charging when you have up to from a number of monthly active users, which mean quite a bit of traffic. So our plans go from $49 to $199, and it's just simple. When you get success, you get into the pay plans. We just wanted something really easy to start and with no risk, so we made the free plan for this.
I mean, I feel like that's definitely a kind of a startup-friendly model. So for whatever reason, if you are trying to build something and it doesn't work out, or you get tired of it, or you don't need it anymore, there's no, you still saved a bunch of time, but it doesn't cost you anything. If they work out, then you can upgrade and upgrade as your business or your needs grow.
That's exactly it. And also the reason is that we get a lot of calls on the weekends from developers in hackathons who are using the product and want help, because obviously we just give them the tools to build their complete applications in a weekend. We just make them faster. So they love this, and we didn't want to be a problem for these guys, because these guys are us. So it's just natural. We wanted something that worked for them.
Yeah, I feel like this is almost like cheating in some of those hackathons. I definitely think in hackathons is a fantastic way for you guys to kind of get your name out, because this is perfect for it. You've got a very short period of time, and it allows you to do a lot of different things with it.
Yep.
So
Well, one example, we just for fun on a weekend, we actually built a clone of Instagram that has no backend code.
Wow.
So, there is all the user upload, activity feeds, likes, comments, rating, friends, whatever you can find in Instagram. We built it. There is no backend code and less than 200 lines of code.
Wow, that's really impressive. That's a pretty cool project.
It was a fun thing to do. Yeah, we just Friday evening said, "Oh, what are we gonna do this weekend? Well, let's do this."
Yeah, let's build something. Well, and talking about building stuff, so your startup was located in Paris.
Yep.
What is one of the very first interviews I did was with a guy named Vi Puri, and he was the founder of Tagito, which was in Madrid. And I'm always interested to hear what the startup scene is like out of the U.S. and cities out of the U.S. So what is the startup scene like in Paris?
Well, the startup scene in Paris is great. It's really, really advanced. The developers there are really good, but it's really, really small. So you can count when I'm talking about the startup scene, I'm talking about the real startups, the ones who build product that can change the world, and not the entrepreneurs. I'm talking about the guys who know what they want to do. These guys are really, really good, which is why we also kept offices in Paris, and we're hiring developers in Paris because they're just so good. The best of them dream to work in a US company, so either they find one in Paris or they move to San Francisco. But the problem is it's really small. There is basically like 50 to 70 great companies in Paris at a single time who are considered startups. Or,
Right.
So that's a really, really small space.
Yeah.
And that's too bad.
Yeah, and what is the access to capital like? Are people or are people trying to bootstrap instead of raise money?
So I can tell you, access to capital is not the same as here in the US.
Right.
Risk capital risk is a word that basically is frowned upon in France. So the VCs we met, many of them, so of course it's not a general thing. We've met amazing guys who understand everything about, what it means to do risk, about risk and investments and everything. But many of them think of it as, how can I invest money on a thing that is a sure thing?
Yeah.
So either you're just a young company, you're just starting out, and they basically want the numbers of a Series B round, or they're exhausting you with meetings and over meetings to, just try.
Too many meetings aren't productive.
Weed the risk out. And of course, in the end, they're going to say no because they cannot weed the risk out. But yeah, it's not just me; it's the general thing, and also there are fewer of them, a lot fewer.
Right. So, yeah, that's about along the same lines as what Vibe said was in Madrid. Of course, access to capital is, I think that's always an issue for entrepreneurs unless you're in the Valley. I'm very familiar with the rising startup scene in Atlanta, which is like the startup capital in the Southeast. And even in Atlanta, I think a lot of entrepreneurs have issues with that. So,
it's simple. It's simple. It depends on the size of the community. In Boston, New York, or the Valley, there are many startups, and some of them succeed to an incredible extent.
Right.
And this makes the VCs see, but they already know because they know their job. They know what it means to have a success. In France, successes are fewer because there are fewer companies, so it appears riskier,
Absolutely.
even though as it's not.
Absolutely, yeah, no, that makes sense. Roman, how do you spend most of your time? Like, what does an average day look like for you?
An average day. So during Techstars, an average day was 8 to 9 meetings a day. And then you have to work on things, because as a CEO of a startup, you're also the janitor, you're also the copywriter, you're also the QA guy, you're also everything. And you turn off the lights at the end of the day. So yeah, 8 to 9 meetings, trying to also write stuff for the website and, review the quality of what's going out, discuss, get updates from the team. And I'm a product guy, so in the beginning I was spending much more time building things, building demos, writing stuff on a website, things that I actually like to do.
Right.
These days I don't have so much that kind of time. Right now we're raising around, so I'm doing a trip in the US, all around the place, in Boston, New York, San Francisco, to meet people. So same thing, 5 to 8 meetings a day. That's these days. In a few months, I hope my job will be, as any good CEO in a good company, to just keep money in the bank, ensure the vision is shared among every single member of the company, which has, if we want to talk about this later, it's a really interesting thing, talking about the vision in a company, and always be hiring. 3 jobs, really simple. That's what I should be doing in a few months.
So, how big is your team right now?
Our team is 5 people today. All of us are technical, 4 of us are developers, and I'm counting me inside. My co-founder, Stefan, is an amazing CTO. He basically built kind of the infrastructure you can find in any big social network. In his previous company, which was a social gaming company with 20 million in funding, he led a team of 15, and for 3 years they built the infrastructure to handle millions of users, and they never released. So that's one of the things that he learned in a company.
Wow.
Always be shipping, because he was ready to ship, but things were changing around, and he didn't get a green light and all that kind of stuff. So he learned that shipping every single day and every single week is the most important thing you can do in a startup. There is also Xavier and Jimmy, who are amazing engineers, JavaScript developers, but who really, they're teachers. They're already working on the next generation of JavaScript engine, ECMA 6. They're really hardcore developers. And Stefan joined us this summer during Techstars. He was VP of Sales at SAP previously, so he's a great guy to have in the team. We're working. The team is great.
Well, it sounds like you've got a pretty solid team there.
We have. It was hard. It was not something that we did in a day. As I said, always be hiring. I'm just on the lookout all the time for great people to meet.
So you talked a little while ago about vision. What do you think? What is your vision? A couple years from now. What is the long term? What is the end game?
Well, the end game for Hull is not limited to social. Social is the first step, is what we're doing today, the problem we're already solving today. But what we realize is that the way we solve the problem for social can be applied to most any feature in an application that has, that is used by several developers, several teams. I'm taking the example of a payment system that we're working on right now. We wanted to offer a feature where you can unlock a virtual good, like a PDF, when you paid for something. And this is not a social feature per se. This is just a feature. And we integrated payments provider, and we just made it so that when you just enter your key for a payment provider and you pay using Stripe or Gumroad or another, Recurly, whatever, that we integrate, this system tells Hull to unlock what we call an achievement. And this achievement grants you a badge that contains the PDF that you want to download. So this is not a social feature, it's just a feature. And we see Hull as becoming the place where you just shop for features and put them in your app on the client side without needing any backend code.
That's really interesting. I guess right now, so how many kind of like features, whether they're social or not, like how many different ones do you guys have currently?
Oh, we actually have a good number. We have social login, which is, I'll try not to be too cocky in saying social login done right. You can really easily add a Facebook login, but having multiple providers and allowing people to merge, to log in with Facebook and Twitter and maybe GitHub is actually a hard thing to do right. So we have this. We have cross-domain, like single sign-on. So when you have multiple websites and you want people to log into one and be recognized across all websites seamlessly, we have this. So for our customers, for example, Universal Pictures in France is using it because they have 30 movies a year, 30 websites for these movies, and they want people to be logged in seamlessly across all movies. And they just use Hull on the client side and have no backend code whatsoever to have this. We have comments, likes, ratings, voting systems and polls. We have also uploads. So user-generated media that you can upload, and this basically allowed us to build the clone of Instagram that I talked about. We just combined these features and made it so that you have the feature set of Instagram in your page. So I could go on and on, but
yeah, it sounds like you guys should open up a marketplace that just has different ones. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of, you guys obviously have a lot of offerings.
That's in the works.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that'd be pretty obvious if people just need one specific feature for their site and you guys can provide it. That's awesome.
We also, yeah. Well,
so it sounds like you guys are on the right path right now. But before you got to that right path, you probably failed a good amount, right?
Oh, yeah, we failed. We failed a lot.
So I guess tell me about your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
The biggest failure as a startup founder was not understanding what a startup is and what's the difference between a startup and a company. And the difference is that a startup grows fast. And the very first product we built was made for our customers in the agency, and it was movie studios. And we built a product that solved the problem of social features for them, but in a way that we needed to work on every single project. And we had a great meeting with a VC at some point, and the first question the guy asked was, okay, your product seems really great. I've seen the demo, you have customers, that's great. Can you sell 1,000 of those tomorrow? And the answer was, well, no, because there is work involved. And he told me, so you might have a great success, but as a startup, you're not a startup, you're a company, you're an agency. And we don't invest in things that don't scale, because a VC, his work is to make a return on investment. He's not here to just, guarantee companies he loves. He has a job, and his job is to have companies that grow fast. So as a company, the mistake we made was not thinking in the problem in terms of how can we scale. And this is not only to raise money, this is because it's actually really, really interesting to build a product that solves the same problem, the problem that many people have, and that is the same problem for everyone.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because as someone who works at an agency, it is. I mean, like if you're providing a service, that's the different thing. It's hard. Like you only grow with how many people and how productive those people are. You don't really have anything that a product. Once you build that, it's out there and it kind of works on its own to generate revenue. And after that, you can add features and things like that, and it kind of builds on itself. It's
so the difference between an agency or a services company and a startup is that in a services agency, you solve thousands of problems for thousands of customers. And if you want to solve twice the problems, you have to work twice as much. So that might be twice as many people or twice as many time. And there is a limit to this. Right. But the good thing about this, and I can tell you this because I loved what I was doing as an agency, is that you can solve the problem in a unique way and make your customers happy because they have something that is completely unique to them and they have a service that is incredible. As a product, you have a different set of constraints. You're solving a problem that everyone has in the exact same way. So that's a different, thing.
That's a fantastic point. Well, so we're reaching the end of the interview here. I guess, what thoughts would you like to leave, young entrepreneurs that are going to watch this show with?
You're going to read many, many, many things on the web. You have to, basically. You have to read every, startup blog experience that you can read from founders and everything. And you're going to find thousands of advice. And the thing is, most of them are true, but you're not going to understand really deeply what they mean. And you're going to make the mistakes these guys tell you to avoid. You're going to make them, you have to make them to understand what they really mean. So the only thing that you might have to take for granted and try to cut is the only thing that has value in the beginning of your company is time. So whatever you can buy instead of do, because you have the money and you don't have money as a startup, so that's hard. Whatever you can cut, whatever corner you can cut, you take it because you want to fail faster. And that's that's really hard to internalize. I built my first product for like 6 months before showing it to a customer, and then realized that we were actually doing something that we thought really, really amazing. Even after showing it to the customer and he said, yeah, I don't need that, we still thought everyone needs this. And the reality of things is that you think you know something and you're deeply convinced, like honestly convinced, and you're wrong. And that is something that you have to learn, that what you think is true is not necessarily true. So you might as well test it and fail and discover that it's wrong faster.
Yeah, failure is definitely a requirement as an entrepreneur.
Failure, if you learn from it and you turn it into a success. Failure for failure, saying I've failed 1,000 times, doesn't bring you anything.
Right. Roman, where can people follow you?
On Twitter, Dardour, at Hull also, and on our website we have plenty of links where people can contact us. We want to be as easy to reach as possible. We have a live chat where you can drop in and say hi on the chat room. This is live support room. We have GitHub issues where we monitor things. Plenty of places.
Great.
Go
Roman
to Hull.io and you're going to find all of them.
Romain Dardour is the founder and CEO of Hull. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.